The NCAA acknowledged a discrepancy between the amenities for the men's and women's basketball teams during the NCAA tournament after social media posts drew a reaction for showing as much. I'm Robin Lundberg here with Madeline Burke. And Madeline, the thing to me here is if women's sports are to be treated the way that we want them to be, the institutions themselves must treat them with the same level of respect. You can't have that sort of disparity, and they shouldn't have to be shamed into acknowledging or admitting that's the case.
Absolutely. Lynn Holtzman, the NCAA's vice president of women's basketball, said on Friday after that photo came out that, quote, "We fell short this year in what we've been doing to prepare." She said that the NCAA was working to improve the women's facilities after they realized this. And the thought was that, oh, well, we didn't realize we had the space. But what I don't understand is when you're scouting a venue for an entire women's basketball tournament during a coronavirus pandemic, you are looking at all the details. How do you not realize you have the space for a weight room, especially when on the men's side, not only do you have the space to set up a very spread out weight room, but also have the time to create a time-lapse video to promote on social media of all the work you're doing to put in to set up that weight room for the men. But it wasn't just the weight room that was the discrepancy. I mean, the gift baskets, men's included, Lysol wipes, body wash, shaving cream, lotions, a book. The spread was so big it took up an entire queen bed, whereas women got essentially, a hat, a towel, a backpack, a few water bottles, and a pair of socks. Very different. And not just that, the entire experience has been different. I mean, men are receiving PCR COVID tests where women are receiving antigen tests. A lot cheaper, but a lot more women have reportedly seen false positives because of the lower accuracy of these COVID tests. And a friend of mine, Ari Chambers, who's covering this pretty closely, reported that, men have access to fresh air on a regular basis at Victory Field in Indy, whereas women during the first two rounds really only get fresh air from their hotel to the convention center to get that antigen testing. And fresh air is important. If you're an athlete, if you're a human, if you're a house plant, it's important. So the women's experience in this tournament is a lot less. And, on Tuesday night on NBA on TNT, Shaq recently made the point that, hey, you know what? For women's basketball, if we look at women's volleyball, the net is an inch lower and it gives women an opportunity. Why don't we lower the basket in women's basketball to give women an opportunity to dunk? And, Candace Parker shook her head and said, no, absolutely not, because women are capable, but they're not being put in a position to succeed. They're not being given the appropriate experience and the appropriate tools to build up their bodies, to create this. These are athletes just as men are, and they should be treated equally as such. And Title IX is there for a reason. And if these women were given the appropriate tools, we would see, we've got incredible athletes in this tournament. Paige Beckers from UConn, Naz Hillman from Michigan, Ryan Howard from Kentucky, Aaliyah Boston, just some of the names that are going to be shining in this tournament. And they would be able to shine so much brighter if they were just given the chance.
Well, they said they didn't realize they had the space. I don't believe that. I don't think they realized the reaction they would get. And at the professional level, there is an argument about revenue that a sport brings in and how that leads to the amenities. But this is college basketball. NCAA, they're supposed to be student athletes, right? So there's no way that you could even make that sort of case. And I think that's what makes it, in this instance, even more of a disgrace.
Absolutely. And for revenues purposes as well, if you give the women the tools that they need to succeed, who's to say that revenue won't go up? I mean, look at what happened with women's basketball in general last year. During the pandemic, the WNBA's ratings went up 68%. These women can ball, and they need to be given the tools to create the environment to train their bodies in the way that they'd like to, so that they can perform at the best level, so that they can go out there and play in a tournament that people already want to tune in to see, but they're going to want to tune in more when these women are playing at their best, and they need to be given the opportunity to do that.